Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. By way of introduction, my name is Caroline Viola. I'm a campus recruiting specialist here at Kearney. I'm based out of our New York office and really excited to have you all here tonight. And excited to see that you all are going to get your MBAs. This is a great time in your careers to go and do that and, explore new opportunities, whether you're looking to make a pivot or try out a different consulting firm. Happy to talk to you all about Kearney and what's to come as you go into your first year of your MBA. So we want this to be interactive tonight. We have a great group of panelists that were possibly in your shoes a few years ago, so they can talk to all of their experiences and their time at Kearney as well. So just some housekeeping items. We do use Slido. So if you see a question, number one, you can submit a question. So feel free to submit. If you see a question that you want answered, we'll have time for Q&A at the end. Feel free to upvote that and we will answer the questions that are most popular first. And then Jackie Hessel, she is the host of this webinar. You'll see her name up there. For anonymous questions, feel free to send to her. She'll direct them over to us as well. And then if your question's not answered, you can go ahead and email it to kearneycareers.mba@kearney.com. That is a recruiting inbox that our campus team here in the Americas checks every so often. So we'll be able to answer your questions, direct you to the right folks, and hopefully continue the conversation from here. So with that, again, like I mentioned, we have a great group of panelists here tonight. So I'll go ahead and pass it over to Alex to kick us off.
Awesome. Thanks, Caroline. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. My name is Alex Clements. I'm a manager in our strategic operations practice based out of the Washington, D.C. office. Excited to be here tonight with you all.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Nice to meet you. Dean First, manager in our strategy growth organ transformation practice based out of our Atlanta office.
Hey everyone, nice to have you all join us today. Welcome. I'm a manager based in our strategic operations practice. I'm aligned to the San Francisco office and I live in Seattle.
Amazing. Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Monica Murcia. I'm an associate based out of our DC office, and I'm with the general practice.
Cool. I'll tell you a little about who I am, and then I'll kind of go around the horn here. I got my undergrad at the U.S. Naval Academy, was a mechanical engineering major when I was there. So shout out to any of the veterans in the crowd tonight. Got my MBA through Georgetown, graduated in 2023. Like Caroline said, been in your shoes, been in this webinar 3 or 4 years ago. So excited to be on this side of the fence, giving you the information. Let's see, quick hitting facts. I love the Ravens. I'm from Baltimore, big Ravens, big Orioles fan, big acoustic guitar fan as well. And then I've done a few Ironman triathlons. Why consulting for me? I really wanted sort of shop floor to boardroom experience. And I love the fact that I've been able to do that in the past 2 years. I've been at the firm, getting super nitty gritty on a manufacturing shop floor to being in a boardroom with PE executives. And then the second thing, why consulting for me, just I loved the fact that I was going to be surrounded by super talented, hardworking, and smart colleagues. I'm consistently not the smartest person in the room, and that's a place that I certainly revel. We'll pass it over to Dean. Talk about yourself here.
Yeah. So did my undergrad at Wake Forest. Majors in econ and philosophy. I enjoyed philosophy much more, but econ was like the kind of major in what you can kind of get you a job, and then you'd also major in or minor in kind of what you actually love. Was born in Seattle, so I'm a diehard Seahawks fan. I picked up barbecue and smoking. I feel like it's like whenever you hit like your 30s, you have to kind of like find a hobby. So trying out different smoking recipes to start. And then I've recently started like vintage watch collection with all the trips we have to New York. There's actually a lot of wonderful vintage watch shops in New York that are quite cost affordable. Why consulting? I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. So consulting, the allure of kind of working across industry, kind of finding your niche of what you enjoy doing was attractive to me at the time. It's probably why I've stayed. And then kind of the, opportunity for increasing ownership, going from, running a model to put numbers on a page to asking the team to put the numbers on the page, to determining why the numbers need to be on the page, to then selling the client the idea of why the numbers are on the page. So it's kind of like as you progress throughout the career, increasing ownership and being able to kind of chart your own path. So that's me.
Awesome. I can go next. So a bit about me. I'm an electronics engineer by my undergrad education. I'm originally from India, so did my engineering there. Worked in the field of analytics consulting for a little bit, and then I did my MBA from Duke University. I enjoy traveling a lot, especially I've been here in the US for the last few years only, so I'm trying to kind of cover different territories and different places and cities. So that's pretty exciting for me. I love watching movies, and I also enjoy doing yoga. Why consulting for me? I think, as Alex also mentioned, I love the opportunity to be working with and just to learn from some of the smartest colleagues that I have. It keeps you energized always and on your toes. So I really like to have that opportunity. And additionally, I think I've always enjoyed to work on a variety of problems across different industries. And I wanted to continue to do that and be more on the strategic side of things while doing that. I just feel that that keeps it interesting for me and also kind of helps create some impact for our clients. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
Amazing. I guess that means I am next. So I was born and raised in Colombia, in Bogota, South America. I did my undergrad there. And then in 2025, I graduated from my MBA at Booth. Um, I enjoy traveling a lot. I am also a big salsa dancer, and I am a very big kind of like spiritual human being. So I enjoy so much everything that's like meditation or like spiritual retreats or like anything that's energy related. I'm always happy to connect on that as well. In terms of why consulting, in my previous life, I did 7 years of asset management at the same company. And, even though I really enjoyed my time there, I think after 7 years, things can start feeling a little bit slow. And I was really looking for something that was a little bit more faster paced. And I thought consulting could provide me that at the same time that I would have exposure to some other industries as well that I had not had exposure before, because again, I had spent all my career in the same company. And then in my previous life, I was also very client facing and I really enjoyed that. So I really wanted to do something that would allow me to still be client facing, but also kind of like enhance my communication skill, which I think are very relevant in life, well beyond kind of like the professional life. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Let me take just a few minutes to kind of introduce who we are as a firm. I think if I could sum up who we are, it's really that top left purple highlighted words where performance meets personality. It's truly one of my favorite sayings or slogans we have, because I think it really does two things. Number one, it underscores that, of course, performance matters and results and ideas and actions are critical for our clients. But I think equally as important is that it underscores the fact that to perform at your best, you need to be yourself and bring your full personality to the table. And for me, Kearney's a place where I 100% feel like I can be totally original, totally myself. And not only is that accepted in our firm, it's really encouraged. I'll jump to the right side. There's 5 areas I'm going to talk about. Talk about our people a little bit. I'll talk about just some facts and figures about our size and our global footprint. I'll cover our consulting style and apprenticeship model, and then just underscore kind of our overall mission before I pass it off for more specifics. So let's start at the top with the people. And I think this, Caroline, I think the screen might have come away unless I saw it differently. Cool. Okay, cool, awesome. So let's talk about the people first. I think it's critically important to be number one here. So as one of the OG consulting firms, Kearney is turning 100 this year, which you can see top left of my screen, I guess it is. We really haven't forgotten that at its core, consulting is a people business. You'll hear Kearney Original a lot. It's a sort of a saying that a consultant has at Kearney is you're a Kearney Original. And again, you're encouraged to be yourself and be that original and be authentic. We believe that really fostering an environment where everyone can fully belong, can contribute and thrive with their own unique perspective, that ultimately is what makes us successful. I'll jump to number 2 here and talk about kind of our size and global footprint. If you have any questions on any of this, please throw them in the chat and we can answer them during the Q&A. But one of the things I love about Kearney as well is that I think we're big enough to have very global clients and a global footprint. but small enough and nimble enough to be very entrepreneurial and develop really close relationships and working partnerships with clients. I think that size that we have is a huge strategic advantage for who we are as a firm, keeps the culture really tight knit. It's one of our big advantages. Just some quick facts on the size. 2/3 of the global Fortune Global 500 companies are our clients. So for consulting math, that's 330-ish, we'll call it. We have offices in over 40 plus countries. Almost 6,000 global colleagues work for the firm. And then our alumni network, which is special, is 25,000. So obviously, working at Kearney, you have access to and will eventually someday be a Kearney alumni. It's a really strong part of our firm. I'll jump into number 3 in terms of kind of our consulting style. I love this as well because I think it's very personal and practical. It underscores kind of the performance and personality I talked about at the beginning, but really 3 pillars we try to strive to be in terms of how we come across. We try to be real, we try to be relatable and refreshing. So, we're real in terms of mixing empathy and expertise to make, our authenticity shine. In terms of our relatability, we speak very plainly. We listen to people. We build great working relationships. Anecdotally, I have clients that I've worked with that I would almost consider to be friends at this point because of how close we've worked for so long. Just those relationships are super special. And then in terms of our being refreshing, I think our unique perspectives and dedication to getting things done are not only valued in the market, but they're one of our defining features as a firm. Okay, last 2 here, and then I'll wrap up and pass it off. But let's talk apprenticeship for a second. So, we believe in the power of apprenticeship. Obviously, we're focused on our clients, but again, equally as important is kind of how you are developing as a consultant. So we have a pretty strong apprenticeship model. And you're assigned a mentor. I can talk about tactically that in the Q&A, but you're truly given the resources not to just perform as a consultant, but thrive in your own career. I have countless mentors, and whether they're official mentors or sort of unofficial mentors that have helped me. I've learned more than I've ever thought I could learn in the past 2 years about consulting and the business world. So let me just sum up, and then I'll pass the mic here. I think in a few sentences, Kearney, we're driven to be the difference between just this big idea and the actual execution and making it happen. Not only do we work tight-knit as a team internally, but we work alongside our clients very closely to reinvigorate and regenerate their business or their problems that they're having. I wholeheartedly believe that Kearney's a place to make a really lasting impact, not only in the business world and world at large, but for you as a person. It's a great firm to explore different areas, learn about yourself, and kind of make your own mark on the consulting and world at large, like I mentioned. Thanks for letting me introduce ourselves. Again, please throw some questions in the Slido. Happy to dive into these specifically. I'm going to pass it to Manali, though, and she's going to talk a bit more specifics about who we are.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. I think you covered it really well. I'm just going to go a little bit deeper into, who we are, what kind of support we provide our Kearney originals, as we call our consultants, to make sure that, there are right opportunities and environment to thrive and flourish in this job. So first of all, we really believe in empowering our consultants to make sure that they have support every step of the way. And it really touches on the 4 aspects that I'm going to, go a bit more in detail about. The first one here is just to ensure that there is a thriving environment where, a consultant or all our colleagues can feel themselves and they can bring their true selves to the work every day. To have an environment, where you have a flexibility, you can be yourself, as I said, and we really believe that everybody brings in unique strength that they have to create collectively this environment where everybody is feeling supported and being able to kind of perform their best. Also maintaining, their work-life balance at it. Second thing that I want to touch on is we also believe on creating real impact, and we believe that across all the industries, all the clients that we have multiple paths that we offer, that support various industries, and also focus on some forward-looking topics like sustainability, digitization, resilience. We make sure that, there is an opportunity to leave immediate impact and also long-lasting impact for our clients and also for our society. We make sure to that extent, we also make sure that we are keeping up with the latest trends, making sure that we understand our clients really well. And also from a personal side of things, that everybody has opportunity to kind of select and grow in the areas that they are interested in, while having an opportunity to keep up with the latest and the greatest in the market, so that there is the right support to develop the skill sets as well. Then the third aspect of it is basically just making sure that you have right opportunities to grow personally and professionally, along with, whatever individual career path that you might have selected. So we ensure that, there is an environment where everybody is feeling recognized and rewarded. And, one of the things that Alex also mentioned to the growth aspect is essentially you will meet a lot of people over here who are genuinely invested in your growth, and they care that you're doing well. They ensure that you have the right opportunities, and that is very encouraging to have, as a supportive environment. One of the things, I did my internship with Kearney as well, as a summer associate, and that was one of the best things, that helped me make a decision to come back full time at the firm as well. You have like official mentor, and we can talk about that a bit more in detail, but you also have so many unofficial mentors, who will always be there if you have any questions, if you want to think about like any particular project or particular opportunity, or even not just professionally, but personal side of things. If you're dealing with something, you have the right support network at the firm. And I think that is really empowering to make sure that you are flourishing and have right opportunities. And then the last one is, I already touched on that, like just being yourself. I think Kearney has the environment that supports that, and it's very important in particularly this job. It helps you kind of create connections with your clients, with your colleagues. So we always encourage that, everybody has the freedom to be themselves and bring their best self to the work as well. We are a family of more than 5,800 unique originals. And, we make sure that there is a collective drive and real support and opportunities that, everybody can grow really, become really successful at a fast pace and have like right skill development that they are striving for. So that's a bit more about how we make sure that Kearney, you have an empowering environment and a thriving environment at the firm. And I'll touch a bit more on like what it really means to be a consultant at Kearney, if we can move on to the next page. Awesome. So, you guys are now in the process where you are trying to explore how the job actually will be, but what it really means to be a consultant at Kearney. So as you know, we work in teams to create solutions for some of the really complex business problems for our clients. There are a variety of industries, services, and functions that we work across. We have some of the biggest clients and some of the small to medium-sized clients as well. So you have range of opportunities there. As a consultant, you will have opportunities to work on projects that kind of touch on various different industries and services, and have those intersections more often. And also, one of the things that is very exciting about a consultant here at Kearney as well, essentially, you'll have oftentimes projects, where the industry or the service or the function or the topic that you're working on, but there are a lot of times where it will be a pretty new topic for you, and you will realize that you will come out as an expert towards the end of the project, the important part there is essentially it's a pretty quick ramp up and learning space and opportunity, but we ensure that there is a right support on each of the project to make sure that, even if the topic is new, industry is new, you are able to kind of quickly ramp up and create impact and learn on that project. So that's pretty interesting personally for me. I mean, there are so many projects that I have done in the past, which I didn't know much about the topic or the industry before, but now I kind of support on the proposals for those, and different new projects reach out to me for getting insights and expertise on those. So you will have those opportunities, and at a very fast pace, you get to learn, which is pretty exciting. And then another thing, I think we already kind of touched on that, why we wanted to be a consultant or wanted to be in this job. Essentially, it gives you a great opportunity to collaborate with like the C-suite executives, top leaders across different companies. And it's a very unique space to be in. And I have done that as an associate, and I'm sure other panelists also as an associate, as a manager. So if you have been doing a great job, those opportunities really come to you, and it's a great exposure to have. Even during my internship, for example, once I set up some credibility with my team, I had an opportunity to present to the CFO of my client side every week. And it's kind of really empowering that your teams show that trust in you, and they make sure that you are supported to be able to deliver, on these occasions. And I think that's a great exposure to have in this business, and it helps you learn so much. And also, not just being on the virtual side of things, now we make sure that you'll be traveling on your projects to your client locations, so just being in the same room as the CFOs or CEOs and understanding and learning from them while advising them on the best solutions. So that's a pretty unique opportunity and space to be in. And I think that has been so incredible for our developments, and we make sure that all of our colleagues are feeling supported when they have those kind of opportunities. So that is really what it means to be a consultant at Kearney. And then apart from this, you will have ton of great experiences while working with your colleagues and teams, and a lot of fun times as well. And we can touch a bit more on that during the Q&A as well. But I think we can move on to our next segment, and happy to take on any more questions. So let's get a bit more in detail on our culture and values here.
Perfect. I am happy to take that. And I think this really builds on what Alex and Manali have been sharing, which I think it's a reflection of our culture. And I know that understanding a company's culture from the outside, it's not always the easiest thing to do, but I do think that at Kearney, our culture really sets us apart. And something that I really appreciate is that these 5 values that you see on the screen right now are really not treated as posters in the wall. I do think those shape our culture, the way in which, teams operate, how people work between each other. So I think, curiosity and boldness really show up in the way in which we ask questions, in the way in which we challenge kind of traditional ways of thinking, are always looking for better solutions for our clients. I would say passion and passion really reflects in that energy that we always bring to our client meetings, to our teams, everything we do internally as well. I think that's very big at Kearney as well, the amount of relevance we do give to making sure we're building connections. We are kind of making efforts to kind of do office building kind of efforts. And then I would say kind of generosity and solidarity to me really create what I would call a very collaborative environment, which to me it's also very unique about Kearney and how people are really invested in kind of each other's success. For instance, when Alex before was kind of saying how some of the client relationships he had built so far nowadays feel like friendships, to me that's kind of a reflection of that passion with which kind of a Kearney originals approach kind of the job we do. And maybe another anecdote to kind of try to bring some of these values to life. This is something that happened to me very recently. I was working with a partner on a proposal. It was not even a project. We had worked maybe for 2 days virtually. Then he asked me to come to Chicago and work with him personally. And then out of the blue, without me asking or anything, he came to me and he would come with me. And then he literally started to introduce me to kind of like principals, partners from the practice. He even introduced me to the America's lead for the practice, and I was like, wow, like that. He was really going out of his way. And then the next Monday, I started getting emails, and it was him CCing me on like I would say like 5 different emails, connecting me with people and helping me really build that network again without me asking him to do that. So that to me really speaks about generosity and solidarity. And maybe I'll pause there and I'll invite, Alex, Manali, Dean, if you have any other anecdotes that you want to share to bring a little bit of these values to life, feel free to chime in. Otherwise, I'm happy to pass it over to Dean.
Yeah, I'll jump in here. I think if I had to pick my favorite from this list and what I've seen impact me the most in the past couple of years at Kearney is really the solidarity. Coming from like a sports background and being on teams kind of my whole life, I craved that environment again in my post MBA life. The fact that, that environment where you feel like you're supported by people around you. You don't feel like someone's trying to kind of come after you or step on you to kind of jump ahead in the ladder. And my instincts about Kearney have been totally correct in that I've never seen that. I've only seen people supporting you, people having your back. I think when you go through any hard time with a group of people, consulting is kind of in the trenches sometimes in a workroom. You get really close to people, and I've have countless folks that I've worked with that, again, in terms of the friends with clients, have been colleagues and friends, and you go through experiences together, and it brings you together as a team. So that's kind of my favorite value here. I don't have a specific story to share per se, but it's one that I was drawn to, and I would encourage you all to think about where you see yourself in terms of a culture. Like, what culture do you want to be in after your MBA, and kind of do a little self-analysis there. And then obviously we can talk more about any of these if they fit kind of your vision of what you want to do, but it certainly did for me, specifically the solidarity one.
Yeah. I'll share a story about curiosity, which I think is the one that stands out to me. It's just like at this firm, like the cool projects that you get to work on and get to solve. Like, I think I was on like a 2-week diligence for cold storage in Santa Barbara. The client was a private equity fund who was building a cold storage facility, and they wanted us to know, like, what should we stock it with? Like, should we reach out to strawberry providers or mango providers or pineapple providers? Like, what's the unit margin for cold storage for frozen fruit and vegetables in Bakersfield, California? And I remember we were up late on the phone with a subject matter expert, someone that's done this work over in Europe, and he was telling us dynamics of like the European markets of cold storage providers and how they budget space and they have flex space for like, mangoes and pineapples like aren't year round, but they have like a super seasonal spike. And so it's like you find like and solve these like super niche little questions and problems here and there that like you would never think, there's billions of dollars that are behind that decision. And you could actually I just kind of surprised myself, like how passionate and curious you can get about a problem that you probably never even thought of or never even considered. Okay, so I think I'll close. We'll go full Q&A. So what you see on this page is basically every single area that Kearney works in. And I think the main point of it is that as you're reading through this, Kearney does a lot of its hiring into the general practice, which basically means that this entire page is up to yourself to choose kind of the projects and the intersections that you deem most interesting at the time. So when you first join the firm, you're not necessarily aligned to a given practice. So, strategic operations, strategy and growth, healthcare practice, private equity practice, whatever it may be. Like, you get to experiment with everything. And naturally, people will reach out and they'll say, hey, I have an M&A project within med tech, or I've got a sourcing project within metals and mining. And so you kind of get to like, as you accumulate projects, like a little chess piece down on this board. And then over the course of a year and a half, 2 years, like you don't have to immediately align to a practice for 6 months. Like there are consultants that make manager and then align, which is, like a multi-year journey. You kind of accumulate chess pieces, in places that you found interesting. And then naturally you'll see, some sort of a clustering around like, hey, I really like doing procurement work within media, or M&A work within chemicals or strategic ops and supply chain. And then you can kind of choose, what practice you would want to formally align to so that your interests, you're with basically a number of people that do the same type of work, have the same type of interests, and you can all grow together. And I think what's almost more important is that as you accumulate projects under your belt, like you kind of determine like what you don't want to do and the practices or the industries that like you try out and you're like, yep, healthcare doesn't interest me at all. I care more about, I'm more interested in transportation, automotive, or trucking. So I think many Kearney consultants come in, general practice, and through, trial and error and hopefully success, you kind of find, where you want your niche to be, the industries that you find interesting, the services and the type of work that we do that you find interesting. And it's kind of like a natural fit that you'll end up aligning to any practice. So no one's going to force you to align. If anything, it's the opposite, that all the practices like try to court you to join. The type of work you do is not at all dependent on the you're in. It's not like, if you only want to do work in communications, media, and tech, like you got to be in New York or SF. Like we staff basically like almost like office agnostic, and even region agnostic in the Americas. Like there are folks on my project right now who are from Mexico City and Toronto. So like there's no restrictions. You can go to any office you wish. You can work on any project you wish. If you want to do communications, media, and tech, and you are out of the Atlanta office like me, like that's a pretty long flight to SF. But you can pick and choose kind of where you want to live based on the city that you want to be in, and not have to worry at all about like being constrained by the type of work that you do. So. Good.
Great. Thank you, Dean. And that I think is a great segue to start off with some of our questions. And you brought up a great point of Kearney doesn't recruit for a set office. So as you are going through the recruiting process on campus, you'll see that some firms do recruit solely for one office. For Kearney, we're just looking for folks that are going to be great for the firm, and we will be, welcome to whatever office you do choose to do your summer in. And if you decide to come back full time after as well, and you want to make a switch, like I know Monica did that after her summer, like we're very flexible to have you just be where you want to be. As long as it's close to a Kearney office, we're happy to have you in any city. But Dean, I wanted to bring up something maybe a little bit different on that, is just the types of opportunities there are to do projects abroad, whether it's for like a short term, or maybe it's you want to go there for a little bit of time. Like what does that global mobility process look like here?
Yeah, I think one of Kearney's strengths is that like they let you live your career how you want to live your career. I've moved like offices internally within the Americas, and it was like I emailed the office lead and was like, I got to go to Atlanta, and emailed the office lead in Atlanta, was like, I'll be there next week. And that was like basically about it. In terms of international mobility, I've known people that have done stints overseas. There was another manager on our last project who spent, I think, 6 or 9 months in Switzerland. So those opportunities are there. There are people that have done stints overseas in Dubai and the Middle East. And I think, if that's an opportunity you want to pursue, Kearney will try to make it as easy as possible for you to do that. So those are certainly those types of environments are there. Cases overseas, again, like if that's what you're looking for, there are opportunities to do that. It might be a bit more slim, but they're certainly there. I've done a lot of work in financial services, and there was a part of the reached out for a asset management process improvement project that was based in Indonesia, which was like 6 weeks, and it was basically like 3 weeks on, a week back here, and then 2 weeks back there, which I couldn't do given that like family dynamics here. So there's someone that would have been a perfect fit for that. But like those opportunities do come up, far and few between, but they are there if that's what you want to pursue. There's also some projects that do have international travel. I've been on projects where we've done steering committees, and I've been to India a few times looking at offshore centers of excellence and looking at capability centers. So like you'll be surprised. I know of people that have gone to Switzerland for board committee meetings, and people that have gone to like site visits in ed tech companies. So like there are some projects that like have like an international element to it, that you might stumble on, then all of a sudden you like find yourself booking a flight overseas. So those opportunities are there, if that's what you're looking for and that's what you want to pursue.
Great. Thank you. Alex, I'm going to direct this next question to you. You made a comment earlier about shop floor to boardroom. Can you talk a little bit about how Kearney differentiates itself from other consulting firms by solving problems at the operations level?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a member of the strategic operations practice. So the shop floor is literally sometimes the boardroom, right? Like the project might be how do you redesign inside of four walls of a manufacturing facility to make it more efficient, make it more cost effective. So one of the things that I truly love about the work that we do is that it's not like we just sit by ourselves and make a pretty PowerPoint and send it off and you're done. A lot of the work that we do, especially within SOP, which is our operations practice, is, I mean, you can't just do that for an operations company. Like, they need to make sure that it works on the ground floor and that it can be adopted and executed. So it's truly one of my favorite things. And I think the ability to interact with kind of those different levels of people, again, from the shop floor all the way up to middle management and upper management, is a skill that you will learn quickly. But yeah, overall as a firm, I think we kind of put our money where our mouth is in that aspect as well. And we're not just ripping a PowerPoint and sending it off. We want to make sure the recommendations that we're coming up with are implementable, number one, or realistic, number two, and that they are going to work. And my last project, we actually stayed on for 4 or 5 months and did an implementation phase of a big manufacturing network change. So yeah, to answer the question, that's what it looks like, right? Like, we obviously take both lenses from the boardroom to the shop floor, but we got to make sure what we're coming up with and what we're recommending is real and can be actioned.
Great. Monica, I'll direct this next question to you. Can you talk a little bit about your formal and informal mentorship programs here, and how they helped you build your network and culture here at Kearney?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would start by saying that I've never seen in my life like mentorship taken so seriously as I've seen and experienced that at Kearney, and both like formally and informally. Formally, everyone at the firm has and is assigned a mentor. Even when you're an intern, you get a mentor assigned, and your mentor is actually the person that would represent you on every kind of like evaluation cycle. So like, of course, and naturally, like, they are very close to you. They know everything that's going on your career, on your journey, and whatnot. My personal experience has been amazing, and for the person that does the question and how they help new hires, honestly, in moments where I face situations that I don't necessarily know how to handle, the first person I've always kind of like reach out to has been my mentor, and she has always had a good answer, someone to connect me with, like something to really help. And I think people take it very seriously, that again on the formal side. But on the informal side, I've been surprised of like how people really, and I think that speaks to some of the values that I spoke about before, but like the level of generosity to dedicate time to kind of like develop people, make sure that people are kind of like building the network and whatnot, is just, to me, impressive. And it's really made a difference for me, for sure, in building kind of like those skills and that network as I start my career at Kearney.
I love that. That's such a great answer. And kind of pivoting, right? I think like as we're continuing to grow and develop, AI is a very large conversation, specifically in consulting as well. And I'm sure as you all go to school, you'll be hearing about AI and ways to leverage that. So Dean, can you just talk a little bit about how Kearney has been leveraging AI over the past year or so?
Yeah, I think it shows up in two places. One in kind of like internal capability. So I'm on, like, in terms of project work, I think it's almost the expectation now that teams have some element of AI that you use, whether it's like a ChatGPT or this project right now, like we all have Claude licenses. We have a Claude workspace, upload all the documents there, all the interview notes, all the recordings, like everything goes into it, and you use it as like basically a digital coworker, like an extra, level of oomph when you need it. So things like, I think, it's not going to replace, I think, like the good organic thought that comes out of the team and like the good critical thinking that comes out of the team. But what it does do is it helps you make faster. So helps you work faster and more efficiently. So as an example, the client we're on right now, we're going through kind of a spend exercise, and one of the areas that they are limiting is the ability for like them to ship their products using like expedited freight, but they had no like expedited freight tracker or a template that they used to capture how many they got, dollar values, etc., because they never thought about that as a cost lever. So we built one. I think the associate like plugged it into Claude, had a decent prompt. It spat out like a pretty good first pass, made some tweaks, changed some of the language, and it was done in like 30 minutes, which would have, taken someone, maybe a few hours if you didn't have that sort of analytical capability. So I think like the expectation of like AI knowledge, like you don't have to know how to code like commanders, like I don't think there's expectation. I think the expectation is that you find ways to use it to simplify your work so that you can do things faster, more efficiently. Some of the lower value tasks like, email prep and some other, meeting notes and summarization, just like basically outsource all that to AI, and then use it to make yourself smarter in a way. So I think the expectation, on teams is that you use it to the best of your ability. I've plugged, steering committee documents into it and said, test for logical inconsistencies. Am I showing a number on page 7 that differs from page 8? And you'll be kind of surprised, like what it'll catch in footnotes. So use it as an extra layer of support. And then Kearney, I think, has done a really good job over the course of the last maybe 12 to 14 months or so on standing up some of the internal AI capabilities within the firm as well. So, consolidated knowledge management, that like all the good work the teams are doing are now in one place that's readily accessible. And there's also, a whole host of other pilots that the Kearney is launching around, how can we as a firm like get smarter and get more efficient with all the good work that's being done. So, long story short, like you would be expected to use it, but not use it to replace like what's between your ears and what you use on a daily basis to actually like solve problems, but use it as a very, very strong crutch in certain places.
Great. Thank you. And then just pivoting as we're getting closer to the end of our webinar, I saw a question about what recruiting will look like in the fall with Kearney. So we will be on a majority of college campuses this fall. More to come. We typically will be on campus between September and November as we're going through the recruiting cycle with your school and career services. So definitely keep an eye out for what's coming on campus, as well as signing up for our Be a Kearney Original newsletter and webinar series. A lot of our information regarding the application, the practices we're hiring for, and similar interactive webinars like this will be available throughout the fall. But you all are already ahead of it, having interacted with us here. So just keep an eye out. Definitely more to come as things finalize and you're actually on campus. And with that, I know we're almost at time. So one thing I do like to do for my webinars is just asking each of you, you all were, in the recruiting shoes a few years ago, and some of you were former summers, some of you were recruiting through MBA or through undergrad. So if you could just give a tip of like what you wish you had known being on this webinar maybe a few years ago as you were there.
I can start. I think in your position, and again, I was there, so I understand it's very stressful, and all you're trying to do is get like 1 or 2 offers. Like you're constantly selling yourself in this whole process. My piece of advice is make sure you don't forget to really evaluate your options. You have it's such a blessing, the MBA. If you're full-time, you have a 2-year pause on life sometimes, at least the work life. Make sure you're taking that time to, like I said, 10 minutes ago, do some self-analysis. Where do you see yourself in your career? You have this great opportunity to like reset a little bit. And specifically for the consulting internship and full-time recruiting cycle, make sure you're evaluating these firms that you're going to see and make sure you're applying to places where you think you want to be, right? Like, again, you kind of sell yourself a lot very externally, but do a lot of internal questioning, auditing of your options and make sure it's something that you want to go into. That's it for me, I think. I could go on for like 4 hours, but I'll spare people.
I'm happy to go next also because I need to catch my flight. So I guess for me, there's 2 tips or advice that I would have loved someone gave me when I was in your shoes, which was not a very long time ago. I think one is be very intentional with like the network you build. It's not about quantity, but quality, and never forget that the person or the people you speak to are also humans and we're in your shoes as well. So try to really get to know the person. And I would tell you, just like treat them as you would like others to treat you or to spend some time with you. So that's one. And the second one, apologies. I think this is a direct translation from a saying we have in Spanish. So this might not make sense in English, but I'm sure you're going to get it. And it's like, put all the meat in the barbecue at the beginning of the recruiting cycle, because yes, it's very stressful. And of course, please take care of yourselves, and like mental health and everything, it's important. But I think if you give it all, if you put all the preparation, if you spend the time building your network, that's gonna pay out in the end. And then once you land your offer, oh my God, the MBA is gonna be the best time of your life. So that's, the best advice I can give everyone here.
Awesome. That was great, Monica. Uh, I can go next quickly. So I think Alex and Monica covered it really well on a couple of aspects. In addition to that, I would just say that while you're interviewing, you're going to be really strong on the technicalities, and you're going to focus a lot on that, like, how to do a case interview, how to do a behavioral interview, your stories and everything. But just try to be yourself and try to bring in, bring in your personality to the interview in the best way possible, because we are evaluating how smart you are. Can you do a case or not, can you solve a problem or not, but also we are evaluating you as a person. So just try to be yourself. And I think that is one of the things that is also going to set you apart. Try to treat it like a conversation and then a problem that you're trying to solve with the interviewer, and just trying to bring your personality other than just the technicalities in case interviews. So I would say, yeah, good luck everyone. I'm sure you're going to do all really well in your recruiting process.
Yeah, so I'll round us out. I would say remember to be yourself in interviews. I know that like Alex had a good point about like when you go into this interview process, like you're constantly trying to sell yourself, but sometimes you start to sell like a different version of yourself, and then you create this interview persona of yourself that starts to stray from like who you actually are as a person. I, as much as all the other Kearney folks here, like I've done a lot of interviews in my time, and you can like tell in the first like 5 or 10 minutes if someone is trying to like force like a different persona or like a different version of themselves. So I mean, like at the end of the day, like you can take a deep breath. Remember to show up as a genuine like version of yourself in the interviews. Remember that like we're people too, and would be happy to connect on other topics apart from interview stuff if there's a few minutes left. But I think that's one, and then the second is like remember to have fun. Like the recruiting cycle is like the world is your oyster, and you can pursue so many different opportunities. This being one of them, which is a very good one, might I say. So like remember to have fun. Go learn new things, go talk to new people. I know that it's immensely stressful, but just remember to enjoy the little things, I suppose.
Great. Thank you all. And I know we are at time. So thank you to all of our panelists for your great insights. Always love hearing what you all have to say and recommend. But for those of you, if you haven't had your question answered, please feel free to shoot an email to kearneycareers.mba@kearney.com. Happy to answer those. And again, we'll be on campus this fall, so please keep an eye out for Kearney. We'd love to meet you in person on campus, and wishing you all the best of luck this summer. Enjoy it before your MBA in the fall, and wishing you all the best of luck in your MBA process. Thanks, everyone.